And one day I just see that there's like a van following me. There's like a black van following me, and I ran a few blocks and I was like, okay, this same van just turned the corner 3 times. So I ran home and the van stopped at a stop sign. And I was like standing, staring at the van because I didn't want to turn my back to the van. And the van was at the stop sign and there was a man with a ski mask.
No.
Legit with like a black mask on his face and glasses. In that moment, I didn't know what to do. So I just grabbed my phone and called my brother. Come outside because there's someone following me. Hello everyone. We are back again with Jessie. A few months ago, we recorded this video about culture shocks in Spain, and we triggered quite a few Spanish people in the comment section. So throughout the video, I actually want to read a few of the comments. Thank you to Rico for leaving this comment on that last video. We also got a lot of questions about why we moved to Spain in the first place and why we left the US. So we're actually going to respond to those questions. Jessie, tell us a little bit about your channel.
I mostly create content for parents to give ideas of things to do with your kids, to create a better connection. So if you're a parent, go check that out.
Why did you leave the US in the first place?
This is a question I get all the time.
Me too.
And it essentially came down to I was in my mid-20s and I didn't have anything going on. We have dogs in the background, right?
So you were in your mid-20s.
I was in my mid-20s. I didn't have anything really going on, and I saw an opportunity to teach English abroad. And I thought there could be an opportunity there. And that's why I left originally. That was back in 2006.
Yeah, so I mean, same here. I came here to be an auxiliary in elementary school, so I taught English for 2 years. And that's the catalyst that let me come here. But I mean, why did you leave the US? Like, what about the US repulsed you or like made you want to leave? Because there are some things that made me think like, I was looking for the opportunity to leave the US, and this program allowed me to do that.
Ah, interesting. Nothing. That wasn't my case.
Oh, good.
I was actually very patriotic.
Oh.
I was not like going to leave the US particularly. I actually didn't come here first. I went to South Korea.
Oh, right. That's
so,
right, yeah.
And it was just to look for an opportunity and take an adventure. And it wasn't until after I was out that I started to see like America from a different side.
Yes.
You know,
I think I always had this kind of criticism with the US because, well, not always, right? I mean, I think up until 17, 18, I was just like every other American, kind of ignorant to the rest of the world. And then I got the opportunity to come to Spain for a month. And that's when I was like, oh my God, life is so much better here. And the reason why I say that is actually because in a lot of ways, I just don't feel safe in the US. And this is a comment that we got a lot on the last video about guns. Like, just the fact knowing that there are guns there, the school shootings, and the unsafety that is there. I'll tell a story of a time that I actually was on a run in my neighborhood. I would go on a run every day at like 12 p.m. And one day I just see that there's like a van following me. There's like a black van following me, and I ran a few blocks and I was like, okay, this same van just turned the corner 3 times. Like, okay, I'm gonna run home now. So I ran home, and I didn't want to go right in front of my house because I didn't want them to know where I lived. So I just stopped on the corner near my house, and the van stopped at a stop sign. And I was like standing, staring at the van because I didn't want to turn my back to the van. And the van was at the stop sign, and there was a man with a ski mask.
No.
Legit with like a black mask on his face and glasses. And he was just like, he had his phone up taking pictures of me.
Holy shit.
Yes. And he was at the stop sign like that. And I was facing him thinking, do I run home? If I run home, he's going to either come up behind me and grab me, or he's going to put a gun to my head, or he's going to know where I live.
What city did you live in?
In a city outside of Seattle. Auburn, Washington. So if you know, you know. Auburn, kind of the hood. Anyway. Yeah. So he was at the stop sign taking pictures of me. In that moment, I didn't know what to do. So I just grabbed my phone and called my brother. Like, I was calling my brother, come outside because there's someone following me. And my brother didn't pick up anyway. Thank you, Alex.
He didn't pick up. He was playing PlayStation.
He was. He actually was playing video games. But anyway, my brother didn't pick up. But the mere fact of me grabbing my phone like that, the guy zoomed away in his van.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And just to know, like, he probably had a gun. That freaks me out. That freaks me the hell out. And so I personally did not feel safe in the US. And when I go, I noticed I'm much more vigilant. Like my eyes are going like this all the time because I'm aware of my surroundings. And here, I mean, I think being a woman, you do have to be a little bit more alert in this world. However, I don't have to be that alert and that on edge here. I feel like I can walk around safely without stuff like that happening.
I actually had someone threaten me with a gun here. They didn't
Plot
have one.
twist.
Plot twist. He didn't have one, and that's I think the difference. I had no fear because I'm like, okay, dude. But yeah, and it was because my dog ate his food. So yeah. It was a homeless guy. Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
just like, he put his,
No, he's
hand-
like, no, he just verbally threatened to do it.
I'm gonna shoot you. he
Yeah,
said?
he's like, I'm gonna shoot you and your fucking dog. You can bleep that out. But and then he did that, and I'm like, okay. But the difference is, it's a different level of threat. Because chances are they don't have one. Whereas in the United States, if someone said that, then like I'm like, well, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but when I left the U.S., it was a different world. In 2006, it was a lot different world than it was in, when did you leave? 16, 17?
No, I left permanently in about 2020.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a way different world then. So, yeah, it was a lot different in 2006, a lot more relaxed. But I had a very different experience.
Yeah.
And at the same park, I actually saw somebody with a knife.
At this part.
At the same one down here. Yeah. And it was a Sunday morning. This has nothing to do with like leaving the US, but just a fun story. I was in the park reading a book on a Sunday morning, and he comes up. He's a younger kid, but also probably on drugs. He was definitely hungover or more. And he was asking where the effing this type of, well, this was in Spanish this time, but like this type of person, a type of person was. And I said, I don't know, man. And he sat and he was like going like this. And I hear cling, cling, and a knife fell off. He's like, no puedo, no puedo. And a knife fell off of the bench in front of him. And I was like, well, I think that's my cue to leave.
I think I'm
And I
outta
closed
here.
my book and went home.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that weird stuff doesn't happen here, because I've definitely been in situations, actually in the park that we're in now, where men have exposed themselves. That's happened many times here. And I've talked to other friends, that's happened. But because of the fact that I know they don't have a gun, it's like I can still come out and be kind of free. I have to be aware, but I don't have to be like someone's going to actually do like real harm to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. In the school, like my friend asked me the other day, not the other day, like a few months ago, if I would go back to the US, and I have kids. It's a different story. And my answer was no. First, because like to me, in my situation, I have moved there. I've moved from there. My life is something completely different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't revisit. I wouldn't go back and live in Korea either, because not anything against South Korea, and for me, not anything particularly against the United States, but that's my past. I'd want to try something else and have a different experience. But also, the first day of school here, they have first day of school celebrations and things like that. I took my kids to school, and then I went across the street to have a coffee in a little coffee shop and read and study and whatever. And I hear boom, and then hear some screaming and playing. And when you hear boom in a school, that means something totally different here than I think it would if I heard it in a school in the United States.
Yes.
And you can't pay for that type of peace of mind.
Yes, no, that's so true. And actually, I remember when I first came here, whenever I'd hear like fireworks or just like petardos, you know, like those little
Like firecrackers.
firecrackers, I would jump like this.
Yeah.
And look around, and my boyfriend's like, this isn't the US. Calm down. Like,
Yeah.
it's just firecrackers. And I actually want to read a few comments that were left on this last video about culture shocks in Spain.
Oh.
And I want to hear your reaction. Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to hear your reaction to those.
Got it.
Those comments. So first of all, someone said, hay una cosa que no se han dado cuenta. En España, nadie lleva armas.
I remember reading that comment. And am I allowed to swear on here?
We'll bleep it out.
Yeah, bullshit. first.
That's true.
Comments are, I just gave 2 stories. You know, one, somebody actually did have a weapon. It wasn't a gun, but it was a knife. And I don't know, comments are going to be comments.
Yeah, right.
You know.
But, you know, kind of relating to the safeties and talking about like guns with children, I want to hear you about this one. Por lo menos tenemos la suerte de ir tranquilos por la calle sin que en cualquier momento no nos saquen una pistola de algún bolsillo, y prefiero en un niño en un bar que sosteniendo un arma que ha encontrado en el cajón de su padre.
Yeah. I have a friend on Facebook, you know, it's a friend on Facebook. I don't know him personally. And he said this was in the United States. He's in the United States. He shared a story about, it was at a truck stop or, you know, at a rest stop on the side of a highway. And his daughter, who's maybe like 7 or 8, she comes out of the bathroom and she says, "Daddy, there's a gun in the bathroom." There was a gun in the bathroom at a rest stop. So he was playing all sorts of things in his mind. What could, you know, he's probably still waking up about what could have happened.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely. And thank God his daughter didn't grab the gun and like, oh,
There could
look
have
what
been
I
so
found.
many things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So another question that Riku left on our last video together was, do you prefer living in the US or in Europe? And disclaimer here, we live in Spain. Honestly, I've been to very few countries in Europe, so I can't speak about life in Germany or life in Northern Europe. I can speak about life here. So just a disclaimer there. But do you prefer life in Europe or in the US?
Well, like I said, I haven't lived in the US since 2006. So it's a lot
It's
different.
a different world.
And I get this question all the time, especially having lived in South Korea, an Asian country, and there's kind of a pattern when you leave your home country, from what I've seen, and leave your hometown to a different state. That's another thing. Not all places in the U.S. are the same either. But we usually leave, and then when we go to another country, usually like there's this honeymoon period.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see all the things wrong. Why doesn't my country do things this way? You know, my country, and then you kind of view your own country as, you know, down. And then you spend some more time there, and then you start seeing, like, you know, dirt under the bed, you know, and then you start, like, the pendulum swings the other way, and then you see all of, like, the negative things of the country you're in, and you're like, why can't, you know, I miss my country, I miss certain food that I can get, I miss this, and then you start to, like, level out. You know, a lot of the time I wonder if people are like, you know, what's the perfect country for me to go to or whatever. And just, I mean, keep this in mind that no matter where you go, you're taking you with you, right? So if you are someone who is always upset and you're just looking for a reason, you'll find it here, you'll find it in the US, you'll find it everywhere.
Well, that's a good point.
If you are looking for an adventure, you'll find that here, you'll find that in Germany, you'll find that in China, you know, whatever. So just keep that in mind.
That's a mindset thing, right? But I mean, like, it also depends on like the values and what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And I can talk about the reason why I wanted to live in Spain is very clear to me. First of all, I wanted to be in a Spanish-speaking country because I wanted to speak fluent Spanish, and I want my kids to speak fluent Spanish as well. So that's huge for me. I wanted to live in a Spanish-speaking country. However, a big priority for me, if you haven't been able to tell through the rest of this video, is safety. And so as much as I would love to live in Mexico, and I know there are wonderful places and safe places in Mexico, don't get me wrong, mi gente, but I just feel safer here in Spain. Like, I don't need to go deeper into why I don't feel that safe, okay? But the safety thing, the Spanish speaking, and also I wanted to be in a warm climate. I'm from Seattle. It's cloudy, it's rainy, it's quite depressing. Summers are beautiful, and we have, I mean, I think the most beautiful nature in the world. I can say that so proudly. But that comes with a price, which is the fact that it's always rainy. So, and that's quite depressing. I need the sun. So that's one of the things that when I came here, and I was here for like a month, after that first month, I was like, God, I even feel like a different person. Because I feel happy. I miss the sun. Like, the life on the streets, just to see that people are out on the streets living their life. I love that.
Yeah, and the cost of living.
Yes.
That's huge for me. That's another big reason why I say I wouldn't go back to the United States. Just for healthcare alone, you don't have that nationalized healthcare system. Like, you have to pay out the nose for healthcare, things like that. So it's a lot cheaper. Like, the standard of living, the income, if you're going by local income, you know, it's not high for most jobs. But the standard of living is lower too.
Yes.
So, I mean, not the standard of living, like the cost.
The cost of living.
Of living.
Right. I would say the standard of living is lower in the US.
In what way?
Because you just live to work. You just live to work, and it depends on the state, but this is the kind of environment that I was in Seattle, the hustle culture. You live to work. You're working 8 to 12 hours a day, and that's because of the incredibly high cost of living. It's so expensive.
So expensive.
To eat decent food. Like, why do you think Americans are fat?
Or to go out.
To go out. That's what I'm saying. Like, my boyfriend nearly cried when he had to pay $10 for a beer.
Yeah.
You're going to charge
Plus tip.
Plus a tip. He's like, I'm not leaving a tip. You just put beer in a cup. Like, what do you mean? It's just different. And
different.
Yeah. One of the things he said is like, after he was there for 2 weeks, he was like, I think I realized that going out and socializing is a privilege in the US. It's a privilege because unless you have money to spend on gas, parking, Uber, and then to go to a bar and pay $10 for one drink plus the tip, $30 minimum for one meal. If you don't have that kind of money, you stay at home.
Yeah.
And you eat junk food because it's cheaper. And
that goes back to the healthcare, because you're paying for healthcare, and the priority isn't like to have a healthy lifestyle, like a healthy diet.
Yes.
But that's for another video for another time.
Anyway, yeah. But that's one of the things why I love Spain, though, is because it's so easy to eat healthy. It's made easy. You can go to a little bar and eat something that's like relatively healthy.
You get a plate, a couple of tapas that are like €4 each, of like potatoes and like meat with a sauce and maybe a side of vegetables or whatever, like $4 each, plus a drink for like one. You know what? A beer is cheaper than like a Sprite. That's true.
Well, that's for a different video about Spain, right? I mean, people here, for sure. People here definitely drink. Talking a little bit about the cultural differences between Europe and the USA. I know we touched on this on the last video, but I got some really interesting comments that I want to read to you and get your reaction.
Let's do it.
Okay. So one of them, and because you have kids, I think this is a really interesting one to get your perspective.
Got it.
The reason for the kids in bars or playgrounds in bar areas is because in Spain and generally in Mediterranean cultures, eating and drinking outside is a communal thing. People go there with their families to meet their friends, to get to know each other, to eat together. They drink together and talk. It's a community. There is not a reason to exclude the children because they are also part of the community.
Yeah, and I saw that comment, and it was curious because I think that's exactly what we said too in the video. Like, it's a part of the community, and that's why the kids are there. That's why there are playgrounds there, and it's a different mentality around drinking here. It's a different mentality around like going out, even down to like sharing tapas a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Another thing that is really interesting, I'm surprised you mentioned the staring, but said nothing of public displays of affection, which is something that makes people from uptight cultures go crazy.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, people get weird about public displays of affection, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Right. I mean,
like, Americans are uptight, like when it comes to displays of affection and sex and things like that. We talked about that in the last video too. Yeah, I would say so. And here it's very, like, you can see people making out on the street. You can see teens making out on the street. And that's something that shocked me. And then I was like, yeah, when I first came here, it shocked me. Because I'm like, why are y'all making out in the park? Like, what's happening? And it's not just like, it's like... No, it's a makeout sesh.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And actually, talking about like public displays of affection. So last week, I was in this same park on a walk with Joao, actually. We're on our daily walk. And actually right behind us, there's like a rock you can see here. And I was like a little bit far away, so I couldn't see completely, but I saw this girl going like this, bouncing with her hair flipping up. And I was like, oh, she must be working out. She's doing jump squats. She's doing knee kicks, right? And I get a little bit closer and I see there's a dude under her like this. Just like straight, like right here in front of everybody.
I mean, that is illegal.
That's illegal. That's
that's not normal.
Right. And I'm not saying everyone does that. Like what I've seen is people making out. But the point of the fact is I've seen people like literally do that in public right here like that. Just like no shame. And the guy stood up butt naked like this. And they're just looking around. I'm like, hello, I'm right here. There's people here. We're at a park. Hello. So they were probably on something. But
probably.
And that's not the norm, right? I mean, I've seen stuff like that a few times. That's not the norm. But the fact is, like, I think affection is just more open here. They're not as uptight with that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely more open culture when it comes to sexuality.
Yeah.
Which I think that it takes a lot of the stigma away. So in many respects, I would argue maybe that it's safer in many ways, because also I think like condom use and safe sex is more normalized when it's more open.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's not like you don't have that shame. I remember when I was in, younger in high school, and like there was almost a shame with going to buy condom, which I don't think that's the case here. You know what I mean?
I find myself sometimes like, you're like,
yeah.
oh, like, oh my
yeah,
God.
and that's a total cultural thing.
Yeah.
So I think it makes it safer if it's a little more open, not like sex in the park or whatever.
Right.
But
your dog's running away.
she
She
couldn't handle the story.
She's like, I'm out of here, man.
She's going to check out to see if the couple's over there.
The rock of love. I call it the rock of love. The last comment that I want to read from the last video that we recorded together. I always thought it's a culture shock for Americans how punctual we are in Germany, because Americans don't give a shit about punctuality.
Really?
I was really surprised by that, because I'm like,
that's weird.
What world are you in? Because no, that's not true.
Not the case at all. Like that's one of the cultural adjustments to have coming here, that when you say you're going to meet at like 11:30, that doesn't normally mean 11:30, like to many Spanish people.
Right.
So that's something we have to adjust. I'd have to push back on that comment.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one. I mean, maybe I can't speak on Americans in Germany. I have no idea. But I mean, you have to adapt to the way of life. So here, if I'm a little bit late, or if, an American's a little bit late, we're adapting to the way of life, guys. Come on. Yeah. But in the U.S., definitely people are punctual. Yeah. It's a
form of respect. Yeah. Just waiting to see what kind of angry comments that we'll see in the result of this video. And I'll look forward to it. I enjoy them, so bring on the heat. Yeah, bring on the heat. What do you guys think about these topics? Let us know in the comment section down below. Go follow Jesse's channel. What's the name of your channel? You can find it by my name. I'm mostly on Facebook too, Jesse J. Swede. If you like this video, I think you'll like this one, so go watch that. Give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week. Bye!